Moments, but first of all, let's go back in time and find out what happened on preliminary final Saturday in seasons past. On this round, our regular host is Sandy Roberts.
Thank you, Peter. Good evening, everyone, once again, and welcome to our segment where we go back and look at some of the great highlights of our truly great game. Well, the preliminary final. It decides who's going to go into the grand, and believe me, over the years, there's been some great action. It was 17 years ago that Ron Barassi's Blues made their shock preliminary final exit from the 1967 series. The favoured Carlton had led by 27 points at half-time, but with Sharrock, Goggin and Farmer setting their side alight and Wade kicking 5, it was to be Geelong into the grand final by 29 points. A record 103,000 saw the Cats held to just one goal in the final 50 minutes of the 68 final. The Bombers, with Noonan kicking 3, beat Geelong by 4 goals. Despite 6 goals from Peter McKenna, Collingwood had no answer to the ruck strength of Mike Green or the goal kicking of Eric Moore and Kevin Bartlett, who each kicked 4 for the Tigers. It was Richmond through to the 1969 grand final by 26 points. Jezza would probably like to forget the 1970 preliminary final. He had 14 scoring shots and kicked 4-10, but it didn't matter. The Blues defeated the Saints by 62 points and set the scene for a grand final playoff against Collingwood, and what a match that was. The Tigers lost to St Kilda in 1971, their first finals defeat since the beginning of the Hafey era in 1967. The margin there, 30 points. In 1972, Carlton coach John Nichols moved Alex Jesselenko to full forward. He kicked 7-3 from 17 kicks, and the Blues defeated St Kilda by 16 points. The Collywobbles struck the Magpies in 1973. They led Richmond by 6 goals at half-time, but in a remarkable second half were to go under by 7 points. The Tigers swung injured skipper Royce Hart off the bench, and he made all the difference in the revival. North made the first of 6 successive preliminary final appearances in 1974. It was to be a 5-point win over Hawthorn, with Barry Davis, the skipper, best of field. In 75, the Roos defeated Richmond. Again, the injured Hart was swung off the bench, but the results went the other way this time. In 1976, it was North by a point, with the brilliant Barry Cable and Darryl Sutton, the Roos' outstanding players, against Carlton. Cable was at his best in 1977 against Hawthorn, in what many people believe was his greatest game. The little master delivered 16 kicks and 22 hand passes, and piloted North to a 67-point win. Collingwood fell victim to Barassi's Roos in 1978, with Ken Montgomery brilliant on the half-back flank with close to 39 possessions in his side's 2-goal win. Despite 5 goals from Malcolm Blight, North's streak of 5 preliminary final wins came to an end at the hands of Collingwood. That was in 1979. Michael Turner gathered 27 kicks in the 1980 final, but even his valiant solo performance wasn't enough to swing the game the Cats' way. It was to Collingwood by 4 points in a thriller. Ian Cooper had played only 4 games in 1981, yet he was to be best of field in the 1981 final. Again, Geelong went down in a close one, losing to the Magpies, again, by 7 points. Carlton's premiership quarter, their third, put paid to Hawthorn's hopes in 1982. Curly Austin's Lee Matthews' full-time shadow was best of field with 28 possessions. And last year, North Melbourne finished top of the ladder and suffered the indignity of losing successive final matches and waving their premiership aspirations goodbye. Essendon's 86-point win was spearheaded by Timmy Watson, who kicked 5 goals. So there it is, just some of the action from some of the truly great games in preliminary final days over the years. Let's now go back to the 84 preliminary final, see who makes it into the grand final. Here's Peter.
Sevens Big League is part of the 1984 Nissan VFL Premiership season.
Thank you, Sandy. Let's check first of all the winners in our TAB footy bet competition, and 2 of them, Mr. R. Stevens of Campbellfield and Mrs. C. Mackenzie of Shepparton. I think that's Campbellfield, not Camberfield. I would imagine that is correct. Congratulations to you both. And time now for our TAB phone account numbers. And on screen you can see 8 of them. If yours is one of those, take a good look at them Be first to dial 268-2174. That's the telephone number, 268-2174. If your TAB phone account is one of those, and the first 2 viewers through will also be richer by $250 with the compliments of NEC. We return to the preliminary final now, and this time we pick up play at the start of the second quarter with Essendon holding a